It is a land of magic and wonder, worth cherishing in every way. But the closer you get, the more you see the great darkness simmering within.
Yeah, oh, you guys are gonna learn a lot tonight.
What can they learn?
You know, like you guys are students now, so you're idealists, but you don't know about where art and corporate interests meet yet. Just prepare to have your heart broken. Like, in a way. You see him laughing, that evil laugh? Because he knows, man, and everybody laughs at me, but just get your Africa tickets ready, baby, because it's coming. It's coming. You have no idea. Thanks to me, he'd sit me down. What's going on with you, baby boy? What? We talk about comedy, whatever. And, you know, when we did Blue Streak, we were promoting it, and Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me? Yeah. What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take her clothes off on TRL? If a weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy, is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
You haven't gone through all the degrees yet. And I can assure you that even if you're a 33rd degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite, there are degrees over you. For beyond that degree, they disappear behind what is called the veil. See, I know more about your order and your lodge than most of you ever will if you live to be 210. You don't even understand most of your own ceremonies. You just go through them because that's what you got to do to get the next degree and be loved by your brothers. You are part of a subversive organization that is destroying this country from within. You see, this country is not being destroyed by some invading army. It's being destroyed exactly as our forefathers said could be the only way that it would be destroyed, and that is from within. Most of the people who have had a hand in the destruction of this great nation have been Freemasons, members of the Rosicruci, members of the Knights of Malta, the Golden Dawn, Templi Ordo Orientalis, and I could go on and on and on. B'nai B'rith, that's a biggie. And B'nai B'rith doesn't mean Jews any more than Freemasonry means Lutherans. And there's another big player in all of this that most of you have never heard about, and that's the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. All of these organizations at their highest level are subversive. Their allegiance is only to the order and the worldwide brotherhood. They are citizens only of their own government and none other. And at the highest degrees, they take the oath called the Kol Nidre, and they mean it literally. It negates and does away with all other oaths. You see, the rites practiced in all of these orders were largely taken from the Jewish Kabbalah and the Jewish mysticism. And I'm not talking about a Jewish plot. Many Jews most Jews, I should say, are not members of any of these organizations. They go about their daily life just like all of you. Well, you see, one time in history, the Jews were the only people who preserved knowledge and passed it down. And they did so in secret, simply because they were outcast, ostracized. They were forbidden to practice these things. Not all of the mysteries came from the Jews. At one time, ladies and gentlemen, the nation of Islam, headed by the Prophet Muhammad, was the greatest civilization in possession of the greatest knowledge upon the face of this earth. They had the only universities in the world at that time. And people from countries all over the world, including Europe, sent people to attend these universities because it was the only place that they could gain knowledge. The mysteries originated in the Middle East and have spread across the world. And so they take a large percentage of the mysticism and the religion and the magic and the occult knowledge of the people of the Middle East. Most Freemasons do not even understand that when they circumambulate the lodge, with the master sitting in the east representing the rising sun, that they are practicing an ages-old pagan rite to their true deity, which is the sun, the light, Lucifer. Albert Pike himself revealed the true God of Freemasonry. And he and many others have made the clear statement that Freemasonry is indeed a religion. But it is not the Christian religion. And many of them, fulfilling their oath to remain silent or to lie when the truth is presented to the public or before them, point to the Bible on their altar and say, "See, we are Christians. There's our Bible." What they will not do, ladies and gentlemen, is take you down the street to a lodge in a neighborhood populated by Indian immigrants, and I mean Indians from the far east, India, on the Indian Ocean, where upon the altar of that Freemasonic lodge is a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. Oh no, they won't tell you that, for they're consummate liars, deceivers, and manipulators. And it amazes me how the public can continue to buy their bullshit for year after year after year after year, after they went to high school, they went to work. Or they went to college for 4 years, where they were indoctrinated into what they are to believe and propound to the general public, and then they went to work for someone else. Amazing. Absolutely pathetic. A nation of children.
Yo, 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 yo. Back in this bitch for another episode of Go Deep. Go Deep episode 246, because a lot of you guys are a bitch. I just had to rhyme that real quick, you know what I'm saying? But this is going to be a good podcast, man. I know this is going to be a good podcast. So let's just, hurry up and get into that shit. If you're new here, please like and subscribe the channel. It makes, I don't know really what it does, but everybody says that, so I gotta say that too. Like and subscribe the channel. It supposedly makes a bigger reach. Go Deep episode 246. I hope you like the intro. You have seen that intro already because I released it earlier today. Now let's just get into this podcast. Let's first get into some music and then we'll get into the podcast.
L.O.D. Keith Murray. That's wrong. Mr. Smith, you want to hit? Give me an hour plus a pen in the bag. Yeah. I'm here to make $1 out of 15 cents and let my balls hang like I'm on a toilet taking a shit. My style is all that, and a big bag of chips with the dip. Fuck all that sensuous shit. I represent intellectual violence and leave your clique holier than the 10 Commandments. Like Red Man, I shift with the rock. If your if was a spliff, we'd be all fucked up. No need to act too easy, son, I get busy. Scuff my Timbs on the boulevard of many rough cities. I left the norm and bait ya. I love to hate ya, cause you's a freak by nature. Can't wait to face ya, mutilate ya. Drink your style down straight with no chaser. My verbal comebacks like a mini Mac to your back. As soon as one of you niggas try to overreact, the LOD love good confrontation of vamp. Break your concentration, murder your camp. For the jealous, overzealous, we fellas blow the spot like Brown Fit Marcellus. Niggas coming through and acting wild. Y'all commercial niggas better have a coke and a smile.
I conversate with many men. It's time to begin again. Forgot what I already knew. You hear me, friend? Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep their eye on me, but I'ma stay incognito in places they can't find me. Make my moves strategically. The GOD is sort of similar but iller than a chess player. I use my thinker. It coincides with my blinker. Why you wonder what we're saying on the record's real? Yeah, you motherfucking right, kid, you know the deal. My mob is infamous, it's like the fucking title read. You get back slapped so hard, make your nose bleed. Some kids feeling guilty about the truth first, baby girl, so just face it. But anyway, back on the real side of things. My niggas sling cracks and wear fat diamond rings. Not only is it inside the songs that we sing, everything is real, not just a song that we sing. From my life to the paper, very accurately. Give you all of my two, so maybe you could three. Prodigy with forever SHINE. My shit attract millions like the moon attract the sea. How dare you ever in your life walk past me without acknowledging this man as G.O.D.
Now who the fuck you think you talking to? I pay dues, I spray crews, look up Joey Crack. Motherfuckers be like he's bad news running this racket. From New York to Montego, slaughtering people, bringing ton of keys from Puerto Rico. I'd rather be feared than love because the fear lasts longer. These bitch ass niggas know he's stronger than these weaklings seeking for respect that ain't there. Knuckleheads beware, this man tension in the air. Tommy guns for fun, shotties for block parties. While fresh lead heats up your insides like a fifth of Bacardi. Call for ambulance, this man's wet. Bullets cut him down from the root up just like a Gillette razor, which I keep hitting in my oral. Ready to spat out and any ad out that wants to quarrel. These feds want me for some tax evasion. Mad at the fact that somebody's getting Nucci, that's not Caucasian. Bullets be blazing through these streets filled with torture. Joey Crack, aka Kaiser Saucer.
Thug niggas get a mix, the chicks toe down, we sip drinks, rockin' mix, flashing rings and things. Frontin' hard 4 deep inside the Jeep neckin', doing my thing, fly nigga, you a Scarface kid. Bitches grab your tetas, get them niggas for they cheddar. Fuck it, Gucci sweaters and Armani lovers. Flossing rocks like the size of Fort Knox. 4 carats the ice rocks, pussy banging like Versace low pop. On the creek, open like raw ass cheeks. I'm sexing raw dog without protection. Disease infested, Italiano got the Luciano. I gets down fucking with Brown Fox, extra keys to the drop. Boo, I'm jingling, baby. I got crazy Dominicans who pay me. To lay low, I play slow, roll with the firm. Mafiosa, crime kingpin, it all real, nigga. What the deal? I shot
What the fuck? I thought I conquered the world, crush Mo D, Hammer and Ice-T's girls. But still, niggas wanna instigate shit. I battle any nigga in the rap game quick. Name the spot, I make it hot for your bitches. Female rappers too, I don't give a fuck, boo. Words, I'm here to crush all my peers. Rhymes of the month in the source for 20 years. Niggas scared, I'm detrimental to your mental state. I use my presidential Rolex to be debate. Niggas fight, Glock cocks, your temple gets fucked. MCs that fuck with LL, they gets bucked, that's real. What's up with that I shot your deal? Like shit, niggas slip, now how the bullet feel? New York appeal, in LA they gang bang. But if you touch a mic, your motherfucking ass hang, that's facts. Niggas don't receive no type of slack, cause if they do, their ass is always running back. Not this time, but next time I'ma name names. LL, shitting from on top of the game. I shot ya.
What is your style and what is your clan?
The soldier,
uses military style. So there may be a war.
Soldiers. Yeah. Automatically I reign supreme. Laser beam tracks a crazy pain. Hit your screen, ricochet and decay. Exit clean, finalize, cries combine, close your eyes, soldiers rise. Look beyond the skies, those with soul roll with pride. The few brave but militant names who misbehave. Killer army style, rushing the stage like Jiggy Bass. The killer beat, industry forms another industry physically. We conquer killing any savage mentally. Solidify, negative vibes, liquefied by the masses. Qualify the passes, the gases, regiment. The stampede, the nullify elements, universal. Soldiers combine to shake your
Tabernacle ministries, enemies trying to diminish me, finish me. Mercenaries go on a killing spree. The heart of war, planning a siege is risky, like an armed struggle. Shots fleeing doubles and they miss me, cause I'm immune to tight situations. Maneuvering is my formation to different locations. If I get caught, then I've been gotten. That means the plan I was plotting wasn't stable. I gotta go back to the drawing table and start from scratch, rearranging the whole map, changing the blueprints. Make sure the horns ain't tapped. In fact, son, that must have been the prom. Take the horns off the hook. We gonna do this deal solemn. In us we trust. And when the knocks come and rush, ain't no time to discuss. Grab a guard, juice and bust. Cause I roll with the unit. 360 degrees, tight like an ovary. Ain't no more casualties being reputed. We sovereign, undisputed.
Yeah, niggas. Yo, true protecting on myself with intellect. Life is on edge cause I serve active duty in the army. I come with a new war order, undocumented notes, the battle site, planet Earth, stabbing niggas' quotes. Attack the wilderness like a virus, planet with no antidotes. There's no immunity, wage you want to tell us community. Zero when I catch a vision, I see a volley of men castrating all those who did sins. 19 million strong, appear in your atmosphere, the military gear. Camouflage commandos, outlaws, desperados, take the war by storm. Operation counterattack, double city, seeking destroy illumination. The worship of light, scarlet bones was a double soul. 12 with cardinals and one pope.
Yo, Arabian Nights, killer army left on the battlefield. Warfare is revealed, soldiers sport Navy SEALs, propeller fighter and armored jet planes. I burn hotter than propane, army suit is stained with blood stains and soldiers' remains. The Red Army, moving across the desert on camels and black horses. Camouflage fortress, 4 horsemen blowing shit out of proportion. I'm trapped in a line of fire, all our desires, we inside the empire. Rounds are sharp like barbed wires, locals hit the air like skydivers. My gunpowder rains like April showers. Camouflage pull over disguised as Range Rovers. Soul for soldier, soul controller. I killed Jehovah, left disaster closure. Casualties of wars, battlegrounds ruled by lords armed with swords. I meditate 7 miles away from Kuwait, where water runs dry through rivers and fountains. On weekends, catch me collecting heads at the Caucasus Mountains.
All right. We are back. I put 2 songs in that bitch. You've heard 1 song already. I Shot Ya by LL Cool J. What a great song. I Shot Ya by LL Cool J. That's when New York was kind of going at Tupac, maybe. But it has the classic line in it. Illuminati wants my mind, soul, and my body. Secret societies trying to keep an eye on me. That's Prodigy. Prodigy probably went down, probably died in the war against these people, you know? So a lot of people have. That usually happens when you make it, you know, up to a certain level and then you out them. they usually take you out. But somebody gonna have to really talk about them sooner or later, because, you know, maybe everybody at once gotta figure this shit out. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe this show, Go Deep, is gonna help people do that. Maybe if you listen to my dog, me and my dog Vega been doing a podcast lately. He got a podcast called Chop Shop. He does this shit live, but definitely check it out, because we hit a lot of dope ass subjects, but he hits it from a fucking, like, a biblical point of view. He knows a lot more about that shit than I do, but it's dope. But more conversations like that are needed, because we all know something is wrong. We all feel that shit, and this ain't no fucking line from the Matrix. You know, you've been here before. You know, I know you feel something. You felt this all your life. Blah, 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 blah. Nah, we know there's something going on in the country. If you haven't seen the fucking presidency, if you haven't seen that election, and if you haven't realized there's something going on by now, you probably fucking cognitive dissonance. You're fucking ostrich with your head in the sand, because shit's going down right now. If you can tell, some countries are going to mandatory vaccinations, where you completely put your life into the hands of science and the medical industry, even though we all know in real life that science and the medical industry has high astronomical rates of malpractice, where people just be dying over the shit that they be doing to them. So we're supposed to all trust them. Oh yeah, let's go do it. But how they do it with fear. They pump on the news, like Dr. Fauci comes on the news and he scares you. He's like, hey, if you don't get this, you gotta, you know, you're gonna have a fucking respiratory problem and you can't breathe, you might die, all this other shit like that. They're scaring you to do it. So with fear, they're controlling your actions, and that's how to do it. Fear. You may have seen this in Batman Begins, when Ra's al Ghul came from the east and he told you, we've sacked countries before. We've loaded trade routes with rats and plague and all this shit. We burned cities to the ground. You think he's just talking to Bruce Wayne in that shit. Bitch, he's talking to the audience in that shit. He's talking to you. You know, you have to get a different perspective. This is not no fucking, no comic book. Oh man, we're going to spend $400 million to show you a comic book movie. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. So when they start showing you this shit, or when you see like a movie named Suicide Squad, like, damn, Suicide Squad, the name was in American culture since the 20s or 30s. You know, they in the all right. Let's talk about what this is, because we always say there's something going on. Like I was just saying a minute ago. We always say they doing this, they doing that. We know what it is, we just don't know who it's doing it and how it's being done. So I'm just gonna tell you, with technology, there is a crew that's coming to America, taking over the whole planet with technology. With the technology, they can influence your brain, because they have been practicing mind control techniques since Hitler, probably before that, because someone taught Hitler. You know, this is like what they call like the Force. The Tibetans taught Hitler and his crew. Then they learn this magic, but all this is magic to influence you. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi had that, you know, you do not want to arrest me. And the bad guys be like, we do not want to arrest you. And they walk away. It's like that. So this force is used now over military might, this force with technology and mind control is being mastered where they can do whatever they want. They can create assassins, killers. They can create zombies, brain dead people who just, they can do anything with technology right now, through technology. And they're trying to get even more control because their champion is Elon Musk, who's now, telling us, well, to keep up with robots, we're going to have to put this, microchip in your head. But we don't understand that, that's when the technology just wins right there. That's checkmate. So what Elon Musk does is Elon Musk comes and scares you. Oh, you're not going to be able to keep up with AI in the future. You're going to be obsolete. Humans, you better put this shit in your head. Same thing Fauci does. Oh, you're going to fucking have respiratory problem. You might die. You better put this shot. That's how they do it. Same way insurance makes money. Oh, you might get a wreck. You never know. You better pay me every month anyway, just in case. It's the same thing they put with fear. So fear was initiated on this country with 9/11. That was like, goddamn, nobody would ever think America would get hit on its soil. That was to show you, it was a huge symbolism first. It was to show you that, you can get hit on your soil. One, it was to show you fear, just like Ra's al Ghul brought the fear toxin to Gotham. Same thing. But it was to now show you a ushering in of a new system. Because those were symbolic towers like Yochanan and Boaz, the Masonic towers of King Solomon. And when the world saw that, that means a new system is coming in. The same way when they tear down our statues, a new system is coming in. But the new system still be the old system. They just change it in certain ways. The ancient, secret societies all come from the East because the Orient has been out thousands of years before the West. So they had everything. They had kings. They had everything. Rulers and slaves before America even showed up. So now they're dropping America, and we know that. We see that. Who's dropping America? The same secret societies of the Orient East. They're everywhere. They're in, Batman showed them as the League of Shadows. They're every fucking where. They have shown, I put it in GODEEP about the Manchurian candidate where they could mind control you and have you assassinate your own president. That's the same shit as, Suicide Squad mind controlling you or anything. It's the same story. We should all know the story. So now I look in our movement, and the same shit is in our movement. The same people is in our movement. This is what sets me apart, I think, in this movement, because maybe I say what most people should be saying. All right, in this movement, we have the same system that wants to destroy America. Remember when the election came and everybody was, Hollywood hates Trump. But a certain few people in the movement went pro-Trump. And we got shit on for it because we're in a Hollywood movement. Why did we get shit on? Because Hollywood is anti-Trump. But what were they thinking we were going to do? They were trying to make a movement. They knew about all of this political shit happening. And they were going to use us to be another arm of the Democratic Party online. We didn't go for it. They used Ray Fisher to, all these people joining Black Lives Matter, trying to tweet Black Lives Matter, all this bullshit. We obviously saw what it was, but then I've been started seeing this like Luciferian shit in the movement that nobody was really trying to talk about, but a lot of people have approached me as Luciferians. And I don't know why they think I'm one of them, but they, I don't know, be trying to recruit me or some shit like that. I don't know. So I say all that shit to say this. So when I first came in the movement, I went to Vero because of Fiona. I think. I don't remember how. I think because of Fiona. And immediately, like day 1 or 2 or whatever, but immediately somebody from TPZ approached me and start teaching me some Luciferian shit. So I'm thinking, damn, why is this dude telling me all this shit? Like, he know me. So I just sat there and listened. But I conversated with him because it's not scary, because people done been telling me about this shit for a long time. I've been heard about it. So then he's telling me all this shit about how Zach is just mentioning, Superman as Lucifer. All this Luciferian shit. He used to talk to me for a while. So I'm sitting here like, God damn, this dude must think I'm really dumb or some shit like that. Or maybe, I don't know. But I think in cults, people get you when you're vulnerable. And what happened was, I was going through a breakup at that time. And that breakup, the girl to me was a little weird. But anyway, I was going through a breakup at that time. And that's how you get attracted in with cults. I don't know why I sat here and talked to this dude this long. Anyway, but I learned, damn, this is some Luciferian shit immediately. So then he was like, yo, let me introduce you to my friends. They're like me and they talk to Zach all the time. I'm like, all right, word. Bam. He put me in a chat room with TPZ. And a few other people. But this is how I got started up in the movement. So I'm sitting here, watching what TPZ is doing. And, they would come in all the time and start arguing about some people, Garza maybe, or Dave the Film Junkie or some shit like that. And I would always be like, yo, why are y'all always complaining about these dudes? Just say something, right? Just say something. So that's why y'all saw me go out always and diss them boys. I was getting, it was like I was a mercenary, because once I showed, I would just talk shit to people. But really what it was, I would see TPZ and Nerd Queens complain about these dudes nonstop. But what was really happening was, I was trying to help my crew. I thought that was my crew, right? So I got into that shit with Dave the Film Junkie and Garza and all of this shit. I didn't know them boys. I got into that shit for them. So we in this shit. Then I noticed like the movement started like blowing up. People just started hollering at me, all kind of people, for me talking shit to Dave the Film Junkie. So I started meeting so many more people. I started meeting all these boys from India. I started meeting much more people on Vero. I started meeting a little bit more people like on the English side in England, blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you about the movement because I'm putting 2 and 2 together. What the same shit is happening in our movement as what I've been mentioning earlier. So I started meeting people from all over the world. I started interviewing people from all over the world in this movement. So then I started noticing that 2 sides are fighting each other. Well, at first it just looked like a big fight. Like everybody was fighting like blue checks and, whatever. It just seemed like a big fight. So then that's why I came in the movement thinking, yo, I can just make the biggest crew and we can own this shit, right? That's what I'm thinking. I didn't really know what was going on like that. So then they like, yo, we got to come to Twitter. We got to come to Twitter. I already had a Twitter, but I just never really use it like that. So I was like, all right, let's go to Twitter. So that's when I started meeting everybody from all over the world. Started making all these chat rooms. Had everybody in there. So now, mind you, I just come out from Luciferian 101 training school from Vero. Now I'm on Twitter. I met so much more people. Getting so much more interviews. Not just the same old Vero people over and over and over. So now I started to make these chat rooms and just see who was who, what was going on. Let's talk. We doing our things. We fucking planning shit. We executing shit. We're talking. We're tripping. Whatever. But then you could kind of see like an undertone of America sucks. Always. It was always like, I remember one time there was this shit where like somebody did a commercial of a school shooting and did all these fucking pictures of Columbine and shit like that. And everybody in the chat room was like, yo, this is fucking ridiculous. Why would somebody do this shit? Why would somebody make these images and replay them? I remember Nerd Queens was like, oh yeah, America needs to see that. America, something like that, because y'all like y'all's guns too much. Wait, you're from America, right? I thought, wait, what? We like our guns too much and blah, blah, blah. But I think most people know that there's probably some foul play involved in all of these situations like that. All right, there's not Americans that do shit like that. But let's say I was just talking about mind control, where you can control people to be assassins. There is a crew that does that. There also is a crew that does that and blame it on America. To make America gun control, take away your guns. They do this shit over and over. Even people say there'd be crisis actors in that shit. There's stage actors in that shit. All right, whatever. Even if that's a little far out. Let's talk about some real shit. Let's talk about Warner Brothers in the Batman Dark Knight Rises series. The second movie, Heath Ledger dies. All right. Something, who knows, could be weird about it. Who knows, it couldn't, whatever. But the movie came out basically right after he died, and they made a lot of money off of his death. All right. 3 years later, or however amount of time, the one with Bane come out, Dark Knight Rises. What happened before that? Some dude in Aurora, Colorado shot up a movie theater. Right? When he went to jail, he looked brainwashed. He looked fucked up. He looked psycho, right? He did. Now, brainwashing is this same magic I've been telling you that's been coming from the East that the corporations use now. In every commercial, they use brainwashing magic to get you to buy shit. But they've been practicing since the Nazis with MK Ultra. They came over here, been practice more and more and more. But the place they practice is Hollywood and Southern California. They plan it in Northern California. They come down and they implement the mind control in Southern California. We're in a mind control Southern California movement. And there's people in this movement on both sides. You think TPZ is bad guys on one side and there's another side of good guys. No, on both sides, they're the same guy. And there's even some in the middle who you think are some real nice guys, but they're really dipshit assholes, snake in the grass people. On both sides. There's not even both, 3 sides. There's like, whatever, But we, as the people of the movement, or as the people of the country, we've been getting mind control into fighting each other. In the streets, there have been riots, blah, blah, blah. We've been getting mind control to fight each other, to tear down our country. We are also getting mind control in the movement to fight each other by the same people, using the same magic. That's in our chat rooms. I've been telling you this. I've been knew this, but I've been telling us in the chat rooms, look out for these slick talking people, because they're leading us into some fuck shit, just like they're leading the country into some fuck shit at the exact same time. They're doing that to the movement also. It's always been on some fuck shit. They've always been here. These are the organizations that practice all of their shit in secret. They call it secret societies. You can call them whatever the fuck you want to. They practice all of their shit in secret. Because when you find out that they're really on some Luciferian shit, all of that shit that they've been saying was a lie. Because they don't have Christian values of what would Jesus do. They have the exact opposite values. So the country that has the Christian values and exudes those Judeo-Christian values over the whole world has now been intoxicated with a poison virus. And I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about Hollywood. It flipped the message that America should be putting out, and has been giving the whole world a toxic narrative, agenda, message as propaganda. And their TV media has fallen because the internet media is bigger. So now they are in these online movements looking for next media artists, internet media artists, and they are injecting them with toxic bullshit, slick talking shit in their ear every fucking day to control them the same way they control mainstream media. They're controlling the next level of media, and they're doing it through the Snyder Cut movement. Nothing I said was a lie. It sounds crazy. Nothing I said was a lie. But I'm gonna just put some white people in here to show you how it's done and show you who is who. They won't talk about the Snyder Cut movement. I talk about the Snyder Cut movement because I'm in the Snyder Cut movement and I see what's going on. Other people see what's going on too. And everyone in the Snyder Cut movement should be, I wouldn't say alarmed, but we should be vigilant. We should be vigilant because we got a lot of snakes in the grass around us. A lot of them. And they're all the guys in the movement that gets the interviews and, you know, fucking raise money for Suicide Foundation, do all this shit, do all the fake good shit in the front cover. Behind the scenes, there's snakes in the grass. It is what it fucking is. We know this shit going down, and there's a few people that fucking riding for it. I'm probably one of them. I'm probably leader of the fucking regular niggas, the organic niggas. I just happen to know these symbols because I've been through that shit pretty much my whole life. And these symbols are obvious. These symbols are showing that we got snakes in the grass. Just like in the country, we got snakes in the grass leading our country to downfall. We got snakes in the grass leading our fucking movement. It has already destroyed our movement. But they know they're being surrounded right now. So they're quiet as fuck. Everyone's quiet. No one's doing shit because they know they've been outed. So now you can just see if they go home nicely or they, you know, put up a fit, but whatever. You do what you want. But the movement, eventually y'all gonna get back on content creation and creating shit for yourself and creating shit for maybe Zach or maybe the Snyderverse or whatever. But you gotta watch who is influencing you to do what. Because the guys who are influencing you to do what are gonna take your content, morph it into some anti-America shit, and it's gonna go just along with mainstream media. That's the only way you can have domination over this shit. There could be no free thinkers, there could be no free speakers, there could be no free fucking goddamn, this guy makes up a whole new narrative, you know? Like, nobody was talking about AT&T in this movement before me. Nobody was talking about a lot of shit in this movement before me, right? So stop P. Lee for talking that shit and control him and make him talk dumb shit. Also, influence his crew, the Watchmen, to do dumb shit at the same time. Also, play like we're the good guys when P. Lee know for a fact we're the bad guys. I'm telling you, you go pay attention, people in this fucking movement and people in this fucking country. Pay attention who's leading that shit. They're leading that shit off a fucking cliff. And it all matches the same. It's all connected. It's all fucking connected. Now I'm gonna put some shit in this motherfucker. And we're gonna teach how to see these motherfuckers. We're gonna teach how to see through the matrix. That's it. That's all I've been doing. You might think this shit is enlightenment, but it's no. You just see through the matrix. And when you do it, you get to see the snakes. Because their symbolism is all the same. Their symbolism makes the force. So the symbolism can never be changed because the force won't work that way. It's just like 1 + 1 is 2. If the symbolism is off, the force is off, right? So if you notice their symbolism, you notice who it is. Like if I see, like I always say, if I see Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, I know that's the Buffalo Bills plan. You have to be on that level. People call it metaphysical shit. I don't know what it is, but you got to see through the bullshit. And everywhere you go, there's some bullshit. Go deep, you bitch. Yo, I want to say this real quick. And everybody in the Snyder Cut movement, you know how big and powerful we are. All right? Well, we got 2 different ways we can go. I'm going to say this real quick. We can be the online branch of the New World Order, or we can wake the fuck up and be the new online branch of the next American Revolution. And I'm not talking about like no fucking bloody revolution. It don't have to be that. It don't have to be no hackers and none of that shit. Revolution of the mind is what we're able to do with our numbers. We can be either or, because they're going to use us regardless. The numbers are huge. Do not let them use you to be the online branch of the New World Order. And that's what they were setting us up to do. Switch your brain and your perspective, and you can be the online branch of the world-saving revolution. Not no just American revolution. I'm telling you, the world-saving revolution. Because it's going down right now, and we all know that shit. Just, you can either be a bitch, or you can be a real nigga. You're a bitch.
Obsession with the Illuminati.
I think hip-hop obsession with Illuminati is because we don't really know if it's real or not. Like, we don't, like, there's things that make you be like, and then there's things that make you say, I don't know. But that's like the devil. Like, it's actually like the devil. Like, do you really know if the devil, like, you know, every time you do something stupid, you be like, that's the devil, all right? But every time you do something good, a lot of people might praise God. They may be like, you know what I'm saying? But nobody really knows the answers. Like, as much as religious as you can be, or as religious as you can be, religious as you can be, religious as I can be, if this table right here doesn't believe in God, you can't convince him. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what the Illuminati is. The whole thing is, it exists to a certain extent, but we don't know if it's real. So that obsession will never stop, because there's a person who could tell you, God saved me and God came down and touched me, but he's the only one who saw it. You feel me?
Who did the line Illuminati got my mind?
That's Prodigy. That's Prodigy. Big up Prodigy. Yes. Okay. Yes. I came out of jail reading The Pale Horse, and I read all that. And listen, I know Illuminati exists. Does it exist in hip hop? Probably not, but it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that some of our people are connected. It wouldn't be. Like, it just wouldn't be. You know what I mean? I'm sorry to say it, but So I think that's what the whole obsession with Illuminati is that it can exist, and then it could also not be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as much as we all love God, we don't really know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know if there's a God. You don't really know if there's a devil. And so that's the power of religion, is the faith. You know what I'm saying? That's the actual power, is you have to believe that. You know what I'm saying? So if you believe there's Illuminati, yo, I'm pretty sure, I mean, in hip-hop, because Illuminati exists, period. But in hip-hop, we've yet to see.
So outside of it, you feel it exists?
Outside of hip-hop, of course, look, there is an Illuminati, but now, these are supposed to be old, rich, white guys, you know, that, you know, they was the investors of the pyramids, you know what I'm saying? Like, they was the dudes who paid Albuquerque and these guys, you know what I'm saying, to build the jump walls. But does it exist in hip-hop? Would they even let people like us in there? Or is there a hip-hop Illuminati? We don't know. And I'm just as curious as you guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I'll be feeling like I'm down with the Illuminati, and then sometimes I'm like, them niggas ain't fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man, but it's a level of success where it's a door. It's a door. When you platinum and you getting 50,000 a show, I've been there. There's a door that you could walk in. I'm not sure if it's homo or if it's Illuminati. I just didn't take that though. I went straight.
What do you mean?
Listen. When you get to a level of success, when you getting 30, 40, 50,000 a show, you platinum, you running across the world. There's 3 different doors, right? There's 3 different ways to walk. There's to the left, there's to the right, and then there's straight. Straight is you're on your own. Let's see if you continue this success, young man. Okay. Let's see if it's all about your skills, young man. Let's really see that. Okay. When you went straight. To the right, I'm not sure if that's the homo shit right there. And then there's to the left, I'm not sure if there's some sacrifice shit going on right there. I'm not sure because I went straight. But I was offered these doors.
So you were offered some gay shit?
I don't, no. I'm saying that to the right when I seen it, those was those guys over there. You know what I'm saying? Those different people, which I have no problem with. You know, that's y'all. You feel me? And I just chose to go straight, and I haven't been platinum since.
Many people find that the moon is magical to stare at from a distance, but it can be equally as enchanting to view it from up close through a telescope. A lot of the craters that litter the lunar surface have been named after people who have contributed to science, people that are recognized as some of the most brilliant minds in recorded history. For example, Tycho is an impact crater that is named after a famous Danish astronomer of the 16th century. Copernicus is a crater named after the famous mathematician and astronomer who proposed that the sun, rather than the earth, was at the center of the universe. Kepler is a crater named after the German astronomer who was a key figure in the 17th century scientific revolution, probably best known for his laws of planetary motion. He also has a famous space telescope that's named after him, which is now used to search for exoplanets, that is, planets that are outside of our solar system. Aristarchus is named after an ancient Greek astronomer who suspected that the stars were just other bodies similar to our own sun. So you can see that these and many other craters, not to mention other lunar features such as mountain ranges, can be clearly seen through a telescope, Or if you don't have access to one, you can take a look at some of the fascinating footage that has been uploaded online, mostly disseminated freely by amateurs, that contain just enough detail that if you look very closely, you might even be able to make out tiny metallic objects that seem to be leaving one of the craters near the side of the moon that never faces the Earth. Now, I obviously can't verify these, but there is another crater. There's one in particular that I would like to draw your attention to that's on the dark side of the moon. And this crater is named after Jack Parsons, an American rocket and propulsion engineer, one of the principal founders of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, and a high priest in a cult founded by sex magician and occult author Aleister Crowley. Jack Parsons would invoke Aleister Crowley's Hymn to Pan before each rocket test. To get a better idea or a feel for Crowley's poetry, let us listen to him briefly recite a few verses in his own voice. This one is titled Pentagram.
In the years of the primal force, in the dawn of terrestrial birth, man mastered the mammoth and horse, and man was the lord of the earth. He made him an hollow skin from the heart of an holy tree. He compassed the earth therein, and man was the lord of the sea. He controlled the vigorous steam, he harnessed the lightning for hire, he drove the celestial team, and man was the lord of the fire. Deep-mouthed from their thrones, deep-seated, the choirs of the eons declare the last of the demons defeated. For man is the lord of the air. Arise, O man, in thy strength, the kingdom is thine to inherit, till the high gods witness at length that man is the lord of his spirit.
Aleister Crowley perceived Jack Parsons with high regard, as someone who may one day be his successor. Crowley made his respect and admiration clear when confiding in another member and saying, and I quote, "Parsons is the most valued member of the whole order, with no exception," end quote. Jack Parsons was a chemist, but a better term might be alchemist. He is credited with inventing a solid type rocket fuel, revolutionizing the entire industry, so much so that former Nazi rocket scientist and the head of NASA, Wernher von Braun, called Parsons the father of American rocketry. JPL was established during the early 1940s, which also happened to be during World War II. As many people now know, thanks to declassified documents, the United States brought thousands of Nazi scientists over both during and immediately following the war in what is known as Operation Paperclip. So the American scientist, Jack Parsons, was working shoulder to shoulder with German scientists with similar occult philosophies. One of the problems that the United States had was that they were so far behind the Germans, not only in technology in the context that most people understand, such as with jet engines, but in paranormal research, which to the majority of the US sounded exactly like science fiction. This leads us to L. Ron Hubbard, a fairly successful science fiction author before the war, who, like his father, was naval intelligence. Drawing upon his imaginative background in science fiction, Hubbard was called up to try to make sense of what the Nazis were working on, with the expectation that the US would benefit somehow, either by making weapons, gaining technology, or at least learning more about their very secretive enemy and their bizarre activities. This is why L. Ron Hubbard, author of Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, and the founder of the Church of Scientology, not only gained exposure to mind control technology and an elevated understanding of the workings of the mind, he also was one of the first people, if not the very first individual, to start denouncing many of the newly formed CIA activities, which can all be lumped together and called MK Ultra, which stands for mind control. In German, it's spelled with a K. So Hubbard was Jack Parsons' roommate in Pasadena, California, where they participated in occult sex orgies together. Hubbard was deeply into the occult from an early age.
A magician, the magic cults of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries in the Middle East were fascinating. The only modern work that has anything to do with them is trifle wild in spots, but it's fascinating work in itself, and that's work written by Aleister Crowley, the late Aleister Crowley, my very good friend. And he did himself a splendid piece of aesthetics built around those magic cults. It's very interesting reading to get a hold of a copy of a book, quite rare, but it can be obtained, The Master Therion, Therion, The Master Therion by Aleister Crowley. He signs himself The Beast, the mark of the beast, 666. Very, very something right.
While there has been debate as to the degree of influence Aleister Crowley has had on L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology, let's see what L. Ron Hubbard's son has to say.
My first guest, Ron DeWolf, was the son of the missing L. Ron Hubbard. Let's give him a big round of applause, please.
His deep involvement in personal use of drugs on himself and others, black magic.
When you say black magic, what are you talking about? I mean, some of the things that I read in the stack of material, it sounds just absolutely unbelievable. What are you talking about when you say this?
Well, the funny thing is that the actual truth is about as far out as Scientology itself. Really, the basis of Scientology, which is rather hidden and covered over, is the occult, the deep involvement with satanic powers. That he felt that he was deeply involved with a British black magician called Aleister Crowley, and through putting himself in deep hypnotic trances and the use of drugs on himself, he wanted to become the most powerful being in the world.
How would you describe what Scientology is all about and what the Church of Scientology is all about?
Well, to put it in layman sort of a succinct terms, Scientology says basically that 74 trillion years ago everyone willed themselves into existence, and through space opera games and science fiction sort of things, they have created this universe. This is a universe created by you, me, and everybody else. And now we find ourselves trapped into bodies, and the goal of Scientology is to get untrapped from these bodies and to return to this godlike state which is called operating Thetan.
How do you do that?
Through applied philosophy, through sitting down across from each other in chairs with e-meters, which is a skin galvanometer with a meter dial on it, and through answering questions and asking questions. This is supposed to release the various charges and the problems one has had throughout all of these centuries and hundreds and thousands of reincarnations, to get the charge off it as if it was a these incidents were a charged battery, and by doing so, this is supposed to return you to this state of high ability. He was very deeply involved in black magic from early teenage years, which was the use of drugs and hypnosis as an example. He used to conjure up these demons and thereby plug into them or have them plug into him, and a lot of his early writing was, which could be called spirit writing. And so he was very deeply involved in black magic as an example, especially from Aleister Crowley, which was an English black magician. And around 1947 or so, he decided that he was the Beast 666 incarnate, because that's what Aleister Crowley was, and he died in 1947.
While Crowley was a high-level Freemason, there are reports that L. Ron Hubbard was a Rosicrucian, at least for a brief period in 1940. The Ancient and Mystic Order of the Rosy Cross, as the organization is formally known, has the symbol of a cross with a rose at its center. It has several meanings, depending on the source, some claiming that the Rosy Cross predates Christianity, where the cross represents the human body and the rose represents the individual's unfolding consciousness. That's one interpretation. Looking at this cross, we can clearly see 8 points, which can be traced back to the 8-pointed star of Inanna of Sumer and Ishtar of ancient Babylon. This covert form of goddess worship was infused into the European secret societies by the Knights Templar. The Templars called themselves the Poor Knights of Christ, with 2 knights symbolically sharing one horse. Is this symbolic of the altruistic sharing of a horse, or does the close proximity of 2 men here have another meaning, especially since the core teaching involved the Kabbalah and ritual sex magic?
It has been widely rumored that the top echelons have been engaging for centuries in homosexual practices, that they have been using these homosexual practices for mind control, not just for horizontal recreation or for kinky horizontal recreation, but for the specific purposes of mind control and of influencing their members. We have nothing against probably 95% of all gays that are basically practicing recreational homosexuality. What we're interested in here is the very small percentage of gay men that happen also to belong to the social subset of secret societies, and especially the most high echelons of these secret societies that engage in homosexuality for totally different purposes, namely for mind control, for social control, and so on. I've heard, for example, stories that the highest echelons of the Knights Templars are a sodomic society. What would you say on that matter?
Well, I think that's true. I think that's borne out. And in fact, when the King of France, I think it was Philip, went after the Templars, homosexuality was one of the reasons for the crackdown on them. But of course, what he really wanted was the fortune, the great treasure, which the Templars had amassed, and also he felt that they were a political threat, and so he would gain several objectives at one time, and also gain their treasure by attacking them on the, by then, I think, well-established grounds of homosexual practices.
So basically there is no way for somebody to go that high in the hierarchy of these organizations without being homosexual, at least in the Knights Templars.
I think not. I think it's almost like a very advanced initiation ceremony, and of course engaging in homosexual practices becomes a final committal to the innermost purposes of the order. And once you've done that, and I guess there's no coming back really once you've been initiated into homosexual operations or activities, there's really, you can no longer be a non-homosexual. There's no coming back from that. And I think that they realized this and that they wanted this as the final commitment from the official.
How about Freemasonry? Have you heard any stories about the highest echelons of Freemasonry engaging in?
Well, if you go back into the most ancient times, religion has always had sex connected to it, and especially the occult religions. Ancient world had a very heavy influence on sex. Sex was used in all of the rituals,
especially
words and terms. And
black magic sex.
Absolutely, and I believe that the people who are at the top of the world today are using sexual magic, and I think that's probably why so much sex is flaunted in movies, television.
The sexual revolution itself, free sex.
All part of not a revolution just for freedom and free sex, but it has an integral part to play in the overall occult movements of the world to open the human mind up to sexual perversion. Also lowers the inhibition in a human being to accept anything. And once you have compromised your morals in that way, you are now ready to be compromised with money.
The next step.
The next step, and with power, and then you've been bought. So.
Because I've heard that basically the highest levels of Freemasonry are quite a bit into homosexuality, and
should not surprise me.
It becomes basically a very cozy boys' club, and in a way, an initiation into the next and higher degree is probably all the members of that secret Masonic cell taking turns at the
Well, I have one such
newcomer. Eustace, what would you say about another and very interesting secret society, namely the Skull and Bones? Because this is a secret society not of elderly men that have reached the 33rd or the 38th degree of Freemasonry, but these are young kids in the 21-year-old or third year of college that are initiated in that society. Have you heard of any homosexual overtones?
Oh yes, the initiation ceremony of Skull and Bones, which finally began to leak out after many years of total secrecy. The fact is that the initiate into Skull and Bones, first of all, he has to strip off all his clothing, then he has to lie down in a coffin, and there he recites every sexual experience that he has had throughout his entire life, whether with male or female or what they did. And so this is in the presence of his brothers, you see, the fraternity brothers. So in other words, he is totally confessing all of his sexual activity of his life to that time, and they are now in possession of this knowledge so that they have not merely a weapon of blackmail, but a weapon of control, because whenever he sees one of his fraternity brothers around the campus, he knows that that brother knows all of his innermost secrets of his life. And in other words, you place yourself totally in their hands. And the Skull and Bones, of course, was set up by the Russell Trust in 1858 as a branch of the German Illuminati. And apparently this is also an Illuminati technique, probably developed by the Jesuits to force the initiate to place his personal history and all of his secrets in the hands of his fellow members. And then after this recitation of his personal secrets, he then stands up and is supposedly born again as a new person under the guise of the Illuminati Skull and Bones. And the members of this fraternity, by the way, there are other fraternities on Yale University, but it was generally known by the students there that Skull and Bones was the peak. In fact, a Yale student told me one day, he said, it was known on the campus that if you were tapped for bones, you were set for life. You would never have to worry about career or fortune, because you would be taken care of. And only 15 seniors each year are tapped, you see.
Yeah.
And they are from the most elite families, the Harrimans, the Rockefellers, and the Bushes. His family was an employee of the Harriman interests, and so that's how Bush was chosen.
Families that have been for many generations into Satanism and black magic and secret societies.
Yeah.
Real
pleasure to meet you, man. And thank you and Ash for having me on, bro.
Oh, thank you so much for being on. It's our pleasure. And you want to just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, how you got into Scientology, and well, we'll get to what you do now later on. Yeah, how you got into it? Was it a family thing?
It was, my friend. I'll try to keep this succinct and brief. So my dad went down to work one day when I was around 9 or 10 years old, and he happened to look in the newspaper, and in the bottom right-hand corner, it said, Dianetics, learn how to communicate better. And for the audience, Dianetics is obviously the precursor to Scientology, right? So my dad went down to the local mission, and he came back later that night with what I describe as a 1,000-yard stare. He was hypnotized, basically, Sean. And he came back speaking differently, acting differently. And he told my mother that he needs to borrow a large sum of money from his brother in order to do Scientology. And this went on for a couple months, where my parents were arguing where if he wasn't allowed to do it, he might have to get a divorce. Long story short, I eventually got sucked into it when I hit a transitional or vulnerable point in my life, which is when cults get you. And the whole family got sucked into it.
How old
and
were
I
you?
got out. I was around 9 or 10 years old when my dad came home that night with that, hypnotized, glazed look. It freaked all of us out. My mother didn't know what was happening. And I'll just give you the quick timeline. So 9 or 10 years old, my dad got into it. My mother eventually went down to the mission a few months later, and she signed up for it. We can discuss the process of how they get you in. It's called Finding Your Ruin. And she kind of accepted Scientology. And then they worked on me when I was like the black sheep of the family. So whenever I get in trouble, they'd sit me down and they say, do you want to be punished for a few months? Or would you like to go ahead and take a course down at Scientology, right? And so I eventually was getting slowly brainwashed. I didn't like it. I knew it was evil. I knew evil entered our family. I knew something was wrong. But the basic tenets made sense. So eventually, around 19 or 20, when I was in a kind of a low transitional point, I took to Scientology, and I didn't get out until I was 35, and I woke up in a single day out of it.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, I did go into the Scientology Center in London and watch the videos and do the personality test. And they're still sending me letters to this day.
Yes,
so,
they are.
For example, then, if I had took it to the next level, how would they have hooked me in?
Well, you would have done a communication course, right, Sean? They would have gone over that personality test that you took, and it's designed, rigged to push your buttons is what they call it. So they would say, Sean, it says here that you're really aggressive in a good way. You can go out and get work done. But over here, it says that your relationships are kind of, bad, or you don't know how to communicate very well, Sean. So for $50, in 2 weeks, we can handle that. And that's how they start you out. $50 on a course. Then it goes up to the next level, which is the purification rundown, which is their pseudo, very dangerous, apparently drug rehabilitation program. That's about 1,000 or 2,000. And then they throw you onto the auditing. That's where you hold the soup cans, Sean, and they put false memories into you, but you think you're going spiritually free. And that becomes thousands and thousands of dollars. Beyond that, you go up to the confidential levels. And that's how far I got up before I literally had a nervous breakdown. It creates schizophrenia, multiple personality disorder on purpose at those levels.
That's interesting that you got information about the drug rehabilitation program, because one of my best friends in America died in it. So he was the guy who kept sober when we were doing parties, and I put him in charge of, head of the security team. But when we all got arrested, he got depressed and he went to hard drugs. And his parents went online, and some broker sent him to a Scientology rehab, and they put him on medication. And a side effect of the medication was suicidal thoughts, and he hung himself. And this is documented. It's online. His name's Courtney Bates. And I think the family got a compensation from the Scientologist, like a 6-figure sum. So what happens in these programs?
Wow, Sean, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind, because I know a lot of people that died on that too.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Do you want to? Do you want to hear what goes on in the purification program, Sean, or the auditing, or like the basic courses? What would you like to hear?
All of them, if we've got
There's
time.
a whole bunch.
Yeah, all
I'll
of
give
them.
you. I'll tell you about the purification. I'll tell you what your friend went through. This is what they
Okay.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really disturbing, by the way, because I hate to hear that, and I know all about Narconon. I did that program 3 times, by the way. And what they do, like your friend, is they take someone who's down and out that needs legitimate, medical help. And what they would have done to him is strictly Scientology. And not only does that not help, so here's how it goes down. They sell it to you, and why you buy into it is because they say it's simply a running program. You're going to go in a sauna and you're going to sweat. Sometimes you have to be in for about 5 hours a day. You can take breaks here and there every single day for a month or maybe 2 months. So what you do is they overload you with vitamins, but they tell you that's healthy. They start you out low, but it gets really high. You can kill someone with this overdose of vitamins. So you take some vitamins, you go run for 30 minutes, you start sweating. By the way, the main vitamin is niacin. So you start getting really itchy and rashy and all that stuff. And their science is that when this happens, you're turning things on. Their theory, which is totally BS, is drug residuals. If you've done a lot of LSD, they are permanently in your fatty tissue. Sunburns that you've had, they stay with you. So when you're taking these vitamins, running and going into the sauna and sweating it out, all sorts of things start happening. People's skins have turned blue. There's actually been ooze that's come out of it. I personally was, had all sorts of redness. You kind of lose your mind. And they say that's your drug trip turning out. The redness, that's the sunburn. So you think that you're actually getting gain and you're going spiritually free or whatever. What happens at the end of 2 months of doing this? Because it's kind of like an initiation ritual. It's a brainwashing program, and it breaks you down. I was so spaced out of my mind when I did this, and that's when they say you pass. They call it a major stable win. You have to have a win in order to pass it. So once you're broken down and you're out of your mind, and if you live to tell about it, they say, congratulations, you passed the Purif. On to the next step. And when I did it, it was at the local church, or that's what they call it. It's obviously a cult. But so, it's big, fancy buildings. It looks, all technical and everything. I knew it was the Church of Scientology, but your friend and these other people, they have no idea it's connected to the church. So there's somebody going online right now, paying $10,000 to sign up their kid that needs help, and he's going to go get thrashed at Scientology. And that's how they hook in people from that.
Oh my God, so sad to think that he went through that. Isn't there like the government agencies, like medical, treatment and handing out drugs, the FDA, whatever? Aren't there some kind of laws to prevent this?
There are, Sean, and I don't have the information on whether or not Narconon is allowed or recommended necessarily, but I believe that they have recommended it. You're talking about when criminals or whatever, are in. I lost you on my end, Sean? Can you still?
No,
see
you're
me?
fine. It was just I had to replace my camera battery. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so they do. I don't know for sure, Sean, whether or not they still recommend it to people. But you're talking about people that are up on criminal charges. Hey, you need to go, do a drug rehab program, right? I'm not sure it goes through the court systems. There would be laws against that, but it doesn't prevent them from operating. There's Narconons all over the world, and they get away with it because, again, as you know all about front groups and how cults and everything, work in a stealthy way.
Yeah. One of the interesting things I heard you say was that they bragged about how they could use the court system to crush people, and they were masters of playing the court system. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. Well, you know all about this, right? I've been watching your channel for years, so you and your audience would know that the court system, the quote unquote justice system, is pretty easy to manipulate. And L. Ron Hubbard, I mean, this cult's kind of deep, in the intelligence field. So it wasn't just like he figured out one day how to come up with all this espionage technology and how to infiltrate the government and like all this stuff. He was schooled in and very well knew how to manipulate the court system. So what they do is if anybody sues them, They simply drag it out forever and they just bury him into the ground. However, something interesting is happening on that right now because actor Danny Masterson from that 70s show is up on rape allegations. And this has a chance to possibly, we hope, sneak Scientology into the case because it came up a little bit as to why the gals were gaslit and they weren't able to report it until a long time later. And they've been under alleged threats. It's not even alleged, dude. They fair game you when you come out. That means they might poison your pet. They do all sorts of things to terrorize you into ever taking them to court. And if you do, they'll drain you. They have over $2 billion and they always win. And L. Ron Hubbard was very aware of that.
Which brings us to the Hollywood connection then. How come Tom Cruise got so deep into this?
He has dyslexia. That was his ruin. So what they do, like we mentioned earlier, is they find your ruin, right? Everybody has a vulnerability and they're experts using that personality test that you talked about to find that out. And all they do is they push on that button. This is what they did to me, my mother, my father, and Tom Cruise. And his button was dyslexia. So he still reads backwards. He didn't have that fixed, but you can go on television or YouTube and watch a clip where he'll claim that it did fix it. So that's how they got him in. And once you get in, and once they hypnotize you and brainwash you through that technology, it's very, very challenging to understand what happened to you, especially if you don't know anything about, advanced psychology or hypnotism or what the hell's happening to you, you know?
Did they get him before he was famous, or was it at a vulnerable point in his life?
Probably a vulnerable point. They got him a little bit after he was just starting to get famous. I believe Mimi Rogers brought him in, kind of under the radar. He wasn't super huge, but they tried to keep that secret. And then and he's been in forever, man. And by the way, Sean, I think he might actually be a sociopath. So I don't think that most of the people there are victims. They're actually kind of empathic people that want to help. Tom might be a sociopath or a psychopath. So I don't know if he's not necessarily benefiting and wants to be there in a certain way. There's a lot of benefits that he gets. He gets free, slave labor to do all sorts of work for him called the Sea Org members. These are people that sign billion-year contracts and basically work for free 7 days a week. They don't see their family and whatever. And some of these people just work for Tom Cruise full time. And so I'm sure he's happy about that.
Wow. So he's saving a lot of money in his staff costs.
Yeah, indeed.
What other famous people got into Scientology? Because we hear about Tom Cruise all the time, but we don't hear about the others.
It's a lot of them, man. A lot of people that are under the radar too that people wouldn't know about. Just yesterday, Laura Prepon, who is best known for that 70s show, which brings us back to the Danny Masterson thing, which I'll mention in a minute. And she was on Orange is the New Black. She just yesterday put out a press conference or a PR stunt saying that she hasn't been in Scientology for 5 years. I think this is personally to distance herself from what's happening with Masterson. She was dating Chris Masterson, who was his brother. That's one example. Jason Doring is another guy who was my best friend for a while before, we had a falling out. He was on, what was he on? Veronica Mars. There's Michael Pena, who is on a whole bunch of movies. I'm trying to think of the more obscure ones. You obviously know John Travolta is. Elizabeth Moss, she is on a show about being under a totalitarian environment while speaking out about how bad it is to be in a totalitarian environment. Also Laura Prepon mentioned that, or in that PR thing, that she's married, I believe, to Ben Foster, or they're together. And they claim that he was never a Scientologist. I doubt that. They have a lot of people that are celebrities, maybe B-level celebrities, that actually get auditing. They'll have an auditor come up to their house, they'll get on those soup cans and they'll do their processing, that never ever want to affiliate with Scientology. They'll never come out publicly, but there's a lot more people than are even known that are actually receiving counseling.
So what got John Travolta into it? What was his weakness?
I'm not sure specifically, but they had a movie called Going Clear that came out on HBO, which you got anybody's into this, I highly recommend checking it out. He was doing this. He apparently was a very introverted, unself-confident person. And according to the gal in that movie that was kind of handled him, she said that Scientology gave him this confidence, gave him the ability to go out and start booking commercials. He got Welcome Back Kotter. He started getting roles because of Scientology. And that's another very powerful thing that keeps you in there forever. Because if you do have wins or gains or something does happen, and they will help you out, they love bomb you, they pretend, they'll do everything they can to help you, because if you're successful, you're going to give them all your money. So he, in order to understand that Scientology didn't help him, would be almost impossible, because according to him in his life, that's the reason he even has anybody knows who he is.
So if they help these guys with their careers, then as they're getting more famous and more wealthy, do they just start giving Scientology more and more money back?
Absolutely. Not only that, Sean, but they kind of require it. You have to make donations. The more able you become and the higher you get up the bridge, the whole idea is to try to become successful on all areas of life. So one of the areas of life that they push the most is you have to contribute to Scientology. That's the group that makes it possible. That's what gave you everything. So you definitely need to donate back. And they also have a slush fund called the International Association of Scientologists, which members are encouraged for no reason than to protect Scientology, to give them millions and millions of dollars. Tom Cruise has given them millions of dollars. I don't know what John Travolta's, money status is nowadays, but I'm sure he's given millions and millions of dollars. And they have what keeps that thing afloat, Sean, because they don't have a heck of a lot of members, is about 100 or whatever whales. There's a businessman named Duggan, who gave them $200 million as part of, the IAS to help defend Scientology.
So Ash put an estimate that there was 10 million members worldwide. Is that correct, or is that not correct?
No, that's what they say. When I was in the Truman Show bubble and you go to these stupid events and rah, I thought we were told 10 million, 12 million, and now it's growing up to 14. They have 20 to 25,000 members worldwide, including the Sea Org, the staff, and everything. That's all they have. And yet, when you're in that bubble, like I said, they'll tell you and you believe that Scientology is taking over the planet and has 10 million members.
So it's all front. So this drive then to get the celebrities on board was from L. Ron Hubbard. For people not familiar with the founder of Scientology, could you just give us a bit about his background?
His background is super shady. I'm still trying to figure that out to this day, because I believe he was just an intelligence operative. I don't think he came up with this all himself. Okay, so he, Scientology at its core, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just telling you what it is. According to Nibs, who is L. Ron Hubbard's son, it is one long black magic ritual extended out over a lifetime. So Hubbard was into the occult. He was into Crowley, Aleister Crowley. So when Crowley died in 47, he literally said he now is taking over the mantle of the beast. He literally thought he was Satan. And that philosophy and that lust for power and everything, as well as the final document called OT8 at the top, where he admits he's Lucifer the Lightbringer. It's one huge black magic ritual. And when you get up to the OT levels, it's specifically designed, especially the infamous level called OT3. That's the one where I literally went crazy. This is where the one on the South Park show where you get rid of the alien souls on your body and everything. It's a form of splitting, about trauma-based mind control and stuff, Sean, right? It's a form of splitting the mind.
MK Ultra.
This is the kind of MK Ultra technology. That's exactly what Scientology is. And what makes it different, though, is that unlike, you and Cameron and stuff, where you had to drug them out and play tapes and everything, it's one of the, I call it the most public face of MK Ultra today. And it's the most subtle one. And that's why the powers that be love it, because it's totally hidden. It doesn't seem like you're harming anybody, right? Your friend was going in there just to do a drug rehab. It's subtle enough where they're not sitting there shocking about everything. But that E-meter, for example, L. Ron Hubbard claimed to be totally anti-psychiatry. He thought psychiatrists were responsible for everything, which is, he was in part talking about the MK Ultra doctors, but he was also super paranoid about this. So he basically, it is doing exactly what he's saying it's not. So it's such a subtle form of MK Ultra. You're putting an electric current through your body. I can't tell you how many times I was on that E-meter, Sean, and I just got knocked out, and then
Jeez.
30 minutes later I'd wake up and the auditor would just be sitting there ready to give me the next question. So anyways, like I said, I think Hubbard has ties to that. It is a subtle version of what was coming out, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s when that was kicking off with the MK Ultra project. And there it sits today too, by the way. I mean, even though there aren't a lot of members, people are joining all the time, dude. There's celebrities and stuff that are getting it. Just still, it human traffics people. It does everything. It's a criminal mafia organization, but it's under the guise of something that is a little subtle if you don't know what it is. They're not torturing people. You're not going to see people like an Eyes Wide Shut sacrificing people on the corner. It's not a sex cult. So it's quite clever in terms of trapping people if you don't know what it is.
So when you came around and the order to ask you questions, what kind of stuff would he ask you?
Look around here and find something that's really real to you. From where can you communicate to a dog? Spot a spot in space. The questions are designed to activate the imagination and basically implant suggestions. So that's an example. They have all sorts of different questions, but they're along those lines where they're kind of tricky, right? It gets your imagination and your mind thinking. And then they basically, it's a long process, Sean, but basically what happens, let me give you an example. So from where could you communicate to a dog? First of all, you don't know what the hell. So you say to the auditor, what the hell does that mean? Well, they can't give you any what they call verbal tech. So they say, well, let's clear the words. What does from mean? It literally gets that pedantic. So they don't tell you what it means. You just clear all the words and they keep asking you until you finally go, you take a crack at it. From where could I communicate to a dog? Okay, I don't know. Here, thank you. From where could you communicate to a dog? On and on it goes. A lot of these processes eventually will take you into past lives, because once they blow the charge on that question and you kind of, the needle or whatever stops, there's no science to this, but this is what they do. They say it's an earlier similar time that you had a problem with so-and-so. And so this is what sends you back past lives. Brother, I made up so many by the time I was in this, I made up so many fake past lives, and they're convincing when you're under this spell, that it took me years to go through all of them and go, dude, fuck, man, it's all. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can.
You're fine. Keep going.
Sorry, I had so many past lives that I had spent years going through and finding out. I mean, obviously, it's stupid, brother, but for me, I didn't know, man. So it took forever to kind of get grounded and understand that I was just having false memories. And
we've only got a few minutes left. How did you get out?
Friend dropped off a book on my doorstep called Combating Cult Mind Control by Steve Hassan. I personally wouldn't recommend his newer books because it's all about, he's not kind of applying his own stuff that was in there. But that book, if anybody were to read it that's in a cult, would have some revelations. I snapped out of it. First of all, Sean, you're not really supposed to, I was going to go report this guy to the church. I wasn't going to read the book. Because I knew I wasn't in a cult, but for whatever reason, it's too long of a story to get into. I cracked open the book and I was out of Scientology about 20 to 30 minutes. Had a heart attack. I knew I was in danger. I knew I was going to lose my family. And then I jumped on the internet, and it took about a decade from there to actually understand what happened to me. I had to lose everything, the family, the acting career, all that. And then finally, here I am, dude, talking to you, man, about Scientology and doing, a channel about it just to kind of get it out there and to kind of heal from it,
Wow, what a ride, Doug. We're going to encourage people to go down to your channel and subscribe. Let me just see. I think somebody sent a question in for you. 1 second. Let me just pull this up. And it's from Donna. They really do brainwash the rich. How rich and foolish do you have to be to donate millions to climb an imaginary ladder to, is it a sea orc or something like that?
Yeah. So what's the question exactly? About the sea orc?
The ladder, the sea orc, what that means. What's a sea orc?
Sea Org are those people that sign. Sea Org are the people that sign billion-year contracts. This is where the human trafficking kicks in, and they have, they'll have kids 6, 7, 8, 10 years old sign billion-year contracts, work as slaves for the rest of their lives for Tom Cruise or for the organization. That's what she's referring to with the Sea Org. And by the way, it's not. Just real quick, it's not where it looks stupid from the outside, but if people didn't know anything about it and they went through it, it is a gradual process. It's not that people are unintelligent, because they do have a lot of, I'm not just saying this to feel good or anything. They do, you have to have a certain mentality in order to be able to handle the mind control and the trauma you're going to go through. So they have a tendency to get empathic or intelligent people. They don't hit you with Xenu right away. It's so subtle and slow that you don't see it happening.
What's RPF, the punishment group? That's just come in a question from
Rehabilitation. Yeah. Raymond, the RPF is the Rehabilitation Project Force, and that's where they put newbies who are going to join the Sea Org into the boot camp, and they could be on there for 6 months, a year, 2 years. This is the breaking them down process. Again, they put kids on this, and you also go in there if you did a transgression or if you don't, meet the standards of the Sea Org, which is almost impossible. So people are constantly going to their prison/boot camp, which is called the Rehabilitation Project Force, to break them down again, get them to say they were wrong about whatever disagreement they had, which is why they were sent there. Or it's the training ground to get toughened up to become a Sea Org member for the rest of your life.
Well, some of the kids crack up under the pressure.
Of course, man. Everybody cracks up under the pressure, but there's no way out. So you just learn how to disassociate. That's what the point of it, Sean. That's why I said they have to have certain people that can take the pain, because you're going to disassociate, and you either are going to leave or you're not going to survive. So that personality test that you took and various other things, those are ways of weeding out who's going to actually be able to take to this. That's why it's so secret, kind of, and they really won't let you in, Sean. If you go to the local organization and go in with the camera, they'll get at it. They're a secret society, dude. So they have a ways of selecting who's going to kind of make the grade. They will take anybody, but they have ways to weed them out.
Wow, absolutely fascinating, Doug. We've run out of time, but if you do ever come to London, we'd love to sit down with you and get you to tell your life story on camera. So please let us know if you're heading out this way. And I urge people to support you on your links that we're going to put below this video. So how can people contact you and support you?
Just Dazed But Not Confused on YouTube. Confused is spelled with a Z, and all the links to email, etc. is in there if people want to contact me. Sean, I have been a fan for a long time, brother. I watch you all the time, and I really appreciate you having me on, man. And to Ash, too.
Yeah, I really appreciate you spending time with us today, and it is absolutely fascinating, but I'm sure there's so much more to it, so hope to speak to you again, Doug. You take care of yourself.
Thank you, man. Have a good night, Sean.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
I think if I had the choice, if there was one place where I could go in a time machine and just peek for like an hour, just look around, and then come back to present day, I think that would be the spot. I'd want to see what Egypt was like when they were building the pyramids, like in the middle of construction, when they were at their peak, when they were building the Great Pyramid of Giza. Like, what was society like? Like, what were the people like? If you could just be a fly on the wall and no one knew you were there. You see, if they saw you, they'd be like, what are you doing? What is this thing on your wrist? Who are you? Why your teeth look so good? How come you don't look deformed?
I'd go back to the I'd be on the grassy knoll that day, JFK.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Dallas.
one, too.
That's a good one, too.
Would you be on the grassy knoll, or would you be in the book depository? See, if you're in the book depository, then you know that Lee Harvey Oswald isn't there.
I think he may have even been there. I think he may have even been firing, but I don't believe that he was the only one.
I'm with you. That's exactly what I think. I think he could have been in on it, and maybe he didn't even fire it.
Right.
But when he said that he was a patsy, the way he said it, when he got arrested, he said, "I'm just a patsy." That's like a guy who knew he was going to get in trouble for something.
Yeah.
That's not like a regular guy. He was not a regular guy. They easily could have talked him into doing something fucked up, and then they did something as well and blamed it all on him, and they had him set up for it.
Yeah.
He seemed like a wacky dude.
Someone that did that and made that shot and really wanted him dead would own it. Quite the opposite. At that point, you're not trying to not go to prison.
Well, maybe he is. but it didn't seem like it. He didn't seem like a guy who just shot someone. He also didn't seem like a guy who was shocked that he was getting arrested for something. But you could make someone a patsy back then. That was real. You could set someone up. And then you hired Jack Ruby to just run up on the guy and shoot him. And he just did it. Now the guy's dead. Jack Ruby drops the gun. They put him in a nice jail cell. I don't know if it was a nice jail cell. I have no idea.
And then what happened to Jack Ruby? Something happened to him,
Died
right?
in jail. Got cancer.
How much do you know about those three guys that they thought might have been it?
Maybe that's John Goddard.
The three hobos or the three guys under the bridge?
Well, one of them was Woody Harrelson's dad.
Yeah, they were in the CIA, I read, or they thought
Something.
they were. Who knows?
Look, Kennedy was not a popular guy by any stretch of the imagination with a giant chunk of the population. Think about if as many people hate Trump right now, if that's only like, I mean, I don't know how many people hated Kennedy, but I know that the Bay of Pigs was a huge disaster. A lot of military people hated him for that. Supposedly he wanted to get rid of the NSA. Supposedly he wanted to get rid of he wanted to do something about the Federal Reserve. There was a lot of things that he wanted to do, apparently. Maybe it was the CIA. I think it was the CIA. He was trying to disband one of those. But he had a disdain for secrecy and secret societies. You know, like that. There was a lot of these like skull and bones type things that like George W. Bush was in, or Herbert Walker Bush, rather, his dad. Mm-hmm. Was George G.W. in Skull and Bones too?
They both were, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all that wacky shit. Like, what are you doing? You dressing up like a druid? What are you doing? Are you burning an effigy? You know, a lot of people thought that was all fake until Alex Jones and John Ronson was with him, right?
At the
yes.
I don't know who was with him actually.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Google that. Make sure I'm right. I'm pretty sure it was Ronson. I'm pretty sure Ronson was. I know it was. He was talking about it. He was talking about it on the podcast about, you know, like that they couldn't believe what they found. So this is this place, Bohemian Grove, and the idea was that all the elites would go there and they would engage in these occult rituals.
This is in America?
Yeah, it's in California.
Oh,
it's like Northern California. And so you hear about this and you're like, what? Like if you heard about that, like, hey, there's a place. Former presidents go, top-ranking generals and heads of state and bankers and famous artists. They go to this place and they do occult rituals. Yeah. They perform occult rituals.
Part 4 of The Secret Rulers of the World, directed by John Ronson. He travels with Alex Jones.
There you go.
What's that? Netflix?
I don't know where you could find it at the moment. It was on.
You can definitely see it on YouTube.
Right.
You can definitely see the interaction on YouTube. So Alex films these people worshiping Moloch, the owl god, and doing this thing. He completely sneaks in, just acts like he belongs there. Just let him in. They have a gate, guarded gate. Just fucking, hey, how you doing? He looks like a Republican. Yeah. They let him through. He is there filming them. They have an effigy, like a bunch of straw and shit that's supposed to represent a person that you're sacrificing to Moloch, the owl god. They're dressed in these crazy hoods. They put the effigy down. They have those loudspeakers. And they have this crazy speech they give. It's so weird. But these are like legitimate, wealthy, famous people, politicians. These people are heads of banks and shit. And they're going there and they're dressing up. This is real. Right. Like this isn't like you hear things like that. You're like, well, that's nonsense, right? That's nonsense. That doesn't really happen. There's not a real like Bilderberg meeting. They don't really get together and fucking pretend they're burning hookers.
They really do.
They really do. Yeah. And so he films this. And like it's one of the first things that got me thinking about conspiracies. As much as you can think that Alex is a wacky guy, he's certainly eccentric. And he's not always right, you know, and that's part of the problem when you're being lied to left and right by so many different things. You can get real off on things, and he did.
Right.
He's gotten, it's been beaten into the ground. But the fact is that there are a certain amount of these things out there like that. And if it wasn't for Alex releasing that video, I think most people would think that's nonsense. But when you see that video, you have to go, okay, what is this? What is going on? Are they really dressing up? Is this really an occult ritual? What is this? Have you ever seen it?
No.
Pull up a video Bohemian Grove just so we can watch the video.
Pictures and stuff because the video that he has is really blurry and
but well, you'd have to hear it too because there's like a booming loudspeaker. But see what you can see. It's kind of blurry, but these guys. I mean, he there's like it's famous, this place.
So do you think these people all work with each other? So
see, he's got this hidden camera footage of these people with torches dressed up like druids going over, and they're carrying the effigy, and then they're going to sacrifice it and light it on fire. Like, dude, this is like really rich, famous, powerful people are all here watching this. Look at that. Back that up so we can hear what it's, or we can read what it says. Back it up a little bit.
It's got someone's talking over it too.
Yeah, but I don't want to hear it, Jamie. I just want to see the writing.
Yeah, well, it keeps going.
Yeah, but can't you? No, what I'm saying is make it so I can't hear it. En masse rends the stones of Babylon. Like, so they're like, what do they even say? Play it out a little bit. Like, look at this. For beauty is eternal. So they have this, and we bow to beauty everlasting. It's a very strange shit. So they're yelling this out. This guy's got this on a loudspeaker, and they're engaging in this ritual, and then they bring over this effigy and they light it on fire. They have a boat in the water. Like, it's weird, dude. Just imagine being a guy who's worth $1 billion, and this is what you do for fun. You're going to get together with Mike and Harry, who runs Microsoft, and you're all going to go and pretend you're burning something. Like, look at this.
But did they become billionaires and then do this, or is it a chicken and the egg?
That's the question. That's what people think, like, about the elites. Right? People think they were, well, and in some families, it is true.
I mean, if these people are all meeting up once a year to burn a stack of hay shaped like a lady, why wouldn't they invest in each other and, you know?
Of course.
They're all bankers and successful.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing about Skull and Bones, is that they all had something on you. Everyone knew something. Because you all sucked everybody's dick and took Polaroids of it and dressed up like a munchkin. You know, I mean, that's what they all did. They did some wacky shit. Like, they probably all got fucked.
It's hard to think like what you could have had on somebody before porn search history.
They probably all fucked each other. There probably was one guy who was like the top Skull and Bones guy, and he's just really into fucking dudes, and he just convinced everybody, you know, it'd be a crazy thing, man. How about we have a group, super secret group, and you can't tell anybody about it? How are we gonna stop people from telling people? I know. We're going to film me fucking him in the ass. And really, he's just trying to fuck these guys in the ass. That's his goal, is just to fuck guys in the ass. He's like, man, this is getting harder and harder to trick these dudes. I need to figure out a new way. So he comes up with this super exclusive elite club. It's called Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Do you want in? Yeah, well, we ought to be able to trust you. You can trust me. I won't tell anybody. I don't believe you, Timmy. Timmy, I don't believe you. I think you would tell. We're going to have something on you. Well, I mean, what do you mean? We're going to have you do something that you don't want to do. And that way, if you ever say anything about us, we'll tell everybody about you. Oh, I mean, I really do want to be in the club.
Well,
guaranteed that's how it went down.
That's crazy.
One alpha gay dude just tricked a bunch of guys.
Isn't that?
And if it's not Skull and Bones, maybe they don't do that. But there's a group out there that does. Yeah. There's one of those groups. One of those crazy groups that's just run by a dude who's just donking dudes. Right now he's 35. He's still in college. Everybody's like, Mike, why are you still going to school here? Someone's got to make sure.
That's how everything starts, right? All these.
The boneyard. The bone house. The bone house. That our ethics are true. I'm here to uphold the strictest interpretation of the boneyard's rules. And I don't trust you.
Gotta show your commitment.
Yeah, everybody bathes in oil first. It's like, why are we in oil? What's going on? Just these weird fucking secret societies. You ever heard the Kennedy speech about secret societies? It's fucking creepy. When it turns out that he eventually gets murdered, It's creepy.
Did you watch
see The Irishman? Hey.
No,
Jinx?
didn't see it.
No.
Good? It's
Spoiler
about,
alert.
yeah.
Half the movie's about that.
Yeah, no, it is good. So many people told me that they hated it that I was shocked when I watched it, and it was good.
Pull up Kennedy's speech about secret societies. Because Kennedy had this speech about secret societies that many people have speculated had to do with the CIA or had to do with...
The movie brings up an angle I didn't know, is that he hired his brother to become the attorney general, and he stared going after...
Yes, the
them.
mob.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, he did right after they helped him get into office. Well, here's the other thing about the Kennedys. They were drug dealers. 100%.
Bootleggers.
Yes, they were selling whiskey or moonshine or whatever the fuck it
The
was.
movie says the dad was too old at the time to get a hold of the sons. Like, they were trying to get old man Kennedy to tell his kids, crack the whip, get him in line, but they couldn't get to him because he was just staring out windows.
Oh, he was
about to
done
die.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Listen, man, they were illegal alcohol salesmen. They made a bunch of money selling alcohol illegally, just like a drug dealer does. Same thing. The fact that those folks went on to become this incredibly powerful family, and then two brothers get publicly assassinated, fucking A, man. Two of them. The fact that you can keep guys around that you know will whack somebody for you like that. There'll be a Jack Ruby or a Sirhan. Just trick a guy. Figure out what do you got to say to that guy to get that guy to run up on that dude and shoot him in the stomach.
I mean, if you put a gun to somebody's head and you tell them that if they don't do this, we're going to kill you and your family, that's it. Pretty much you got them, especially
sometimes,
you know, like in the movies when they show someone a picture of their family and they show them a picture of their house or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I know where you live. I know.
I think it's more than that. I think it's guys that you can tell that they're going to do a good thing and they're going to go down in history and they're going to live in infamy, like for their own personal gain. Like, you're talking about people that are so dumb. You're willing to you're gonna lose the rest of your life because someone's telling you to go shoot Bobby Kennedy, and you're gonna do it in a restaurant in front of everybody. It was a hotel.
That was in Chicago, right?
No, it was in L.A. We actually did Fear Factor in the very hotel where he was shot, because the hotel eventually shut down. I don't know how long after the assassination, but when we were there, they would rent it out for television shows. It's just like weird place, man. You'd walk through the kitchen where he got shot. Like, he got shot in the kitchen, or they bring him into the kitchen?
Probably brought him in. I think it was in like the convention part where they were giving a speech.
Whoo!
Meeting hall or something.
And that guy swears that he didn't kill him. And but listen, but play that. Okay. Play that that Kennedy speech.
It's actually like a 20-minute speech. This is just, I think this is the main highlight we're hopefully looking for.
Yeah, let me hear.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary.
That's good.
I am not asking your newspaper...
You get it.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you had just heard that, if someone else was saying that instead of Kennedy, if someone else is saying those very things in front of you about how they have an open budget, their findings are all concealed, they're a tightly knit group that combines the military and science and all, you'd be like, what? Yeah. Are you on Sam Tripoli's podcast this week? Are you on Tinfoil Hat? You know, what are you doing with this wacky thought?
What do you think?
Wouldn't think that would be the president. He's talking about secret society. He's talking about the military-industrial complex. He's talking about all the gears that are in play, all the pieces that are in play that are making money and causing war and deciding what information people should and shouldn't have and what overreach, they're going to put into action.
He's foreshadowing everything